Here's the one that might get me a lot of hate on YouTube here and in the comments because this one's going to spark a lot of emotions. Tier list. Hey everybody, it's BC from Wrestling with the 80s. Welcome you back to another fantastic video. This week I'm going to be concentrating on championship belts from the 1980s. And specifically, I'm going to be doing a tier list. And yes, I know, I'm jumping on this trend about 2 years, 3 years late. But hey, better late than never. This video is going to focus on 20 championship belts from the 1980s. It'll include belts from the NWA, WWF, AWA, Mid-Atlantic, Mid-South, UWF, even a couple others might be popping in there. It's going to be the first of many videos, I think, because there's so many amazing belts that popped up in the 80s, as well as a few crappy ones, too. So what I'd like you to do is if you've got some suggestions for some other championship belt tier videos, leave them down below in the comments sections. And don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell, leave a like. Just make sure you're getting all the future videos from Wrestling with the 80s. Before we get started, I just wanted to give an explanation of my ranking system. So it starts off with GOAT level, along with legendary. Then it's great. And then we've got the okay category, as in, it's okay. Not so bad. It's okay. And then finally, they tried. Because I don't want to call anything really horrible or bad or an F. So I'm just going to go with they tried. They at least tried to make a nice title. All right. Just wanted to clear it up before we get going. All right, here we go. We're starting off first with the UWF World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this would be Bill Watts' Mid-South promotion that turned into the UWF back in '86 when he was looking to be a little bit more mainstream, a little bit more international, national, as opposed to just a regional promotion when he was up against the WWF. But so that led to a few different title designs because of the new name. This one is remembered as being held by guys like Dr. That's Steve Williams and Big Bubba Rogers and the One Man Gang and Terry Gordy. I think is probably one that really sticks in my mind. And this is I got to say, a very nice championship. Just a simple design. Kind of reminds me of Ring of Honor's championship, to be quite honest. And you got the side plates with the UWF logo, the main logo in the center. Clean looking. As far as where I'm going to put this on the list, I think this is a great championship belt. I'm not going to say legendary, but great would work for me. So I'm going to put it right in that category to start off with. So nice job, UWF. Nice job, Bill Watts, on that title. Next up, we've got the NWA World Television Championship, famously known as the Arn Anderson title, although the reason that this is the NWA World Television Championship is because, of course, when Dusty Rhodes won it, it had to be a world title instead of just a regional TV championship. So we put the world on it. Again, this is a great title. Just a classic design. It's got the same design elements as the NWA National Heavyweight Championship, as well as the Hulk Hogan 1985 type of title. But again, very interesting things. This is both the black strap you had it in as well as a red strap. This one, I like the black more than the red myself, but the red is okay as well. It's got the logos for all the TV channels, the CBS, ABC, and all that stuff. Just a cool design. And for me, I am going to put this one into the legendary category. It's just a unique design. It's something that is different than well, I say it's a unique design, but I mean as far as just the colors, the schemes, the names of the stations on the side, it represents a TV title well. So that's going to be my pick for a legendary title. Next up, the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. So this is a regional title. This is what would have been in Jim Crocker Promotions in the early 80s, the 70s as well, but we're talking 80s right here. So this would have been held by the likes of Paul Jones and Dory Funk Jr. and just different champions, just a who's who of champions. Now, it's a simplistic design as far as a regional title. It's small, like most titles were back in the day, but it has some cool elements. I like the center plate as far as showing the different different states that Mid Atlantic covered, as well as on the side plates you have the different state flags and everything. So I think it's pretty good, to be quite honest, for you for a regional title. So I'm going to put this one in the great category. Now, make sure you leave your comments below if you agree or disagree with my choices. But we it's like my friend Ted from Ted's Wrestling Takes talks about, wrestling's like pizza. Everybody has their own style. Next up, we have got the NWA World's Tag Team Championship. Now, when you think about this title belt, think about people like the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express and Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude holding these titles. The Andersons in the mid '80s, as far as these titles, these are very well done titles. Similar design was used for a lot of different titles for different regions. The WWF World Heavyweight title was similar design as well. You can see a repeat of a lot of designs. The only thing knock I give against this one, and I've tried to in these pictures bring up the saturation as much as possible so that they really stood out. But the one thing I'll say about this design is it's busy and it's a little hard to make out everything that's on the title. I think if it was a little bit clearer as far as how this would probably be in the legendary category. But for me, I still think it's a great title belt. I'd be more than happy to have this on my shelf, but it's not quite at the legendary because it's just a little bit of stuff going on. All right, next up, it's the WWF Intercontinental Championship, the original title, which Pat Patterson would have held, Don Morocco, Pedro Morales, the original title. So at that point, the WWF titles were very simplistic. They actually literally looked like an old belt buckle. You can take a look at this one. It's a pretty simple design. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have great memories of the people that held the championships. And I think sometimes we make the championships a little bit loftier because of who held them as opposed to the actual design of the title. But quite honestly, this one for me is going in the they tried category because it's just a very basic title. Looks like it was slapped together pretty quickly just to get a championship, and perhaps it was. I mean, even the history of the title was a little bit slapped together as far as a fake tournament in Rio de Janeiro for Pat Patterson. But yeah, so this one's going in the they tried. Our first one in the they tried category. So make sure you send your boos and comments down below when you make fun of me for these picks. Now we're going to switch sides to a very nice championship. This is the UWF Television Championship. Again, after Bill Watts renamed Mid South Championship Wrestling to UWF, the new titles that came in were really unique designs and very nice looking. And I really enjoy this TV championship. Hopefully it's shining through in the picture that I'm putting up on the video here, but it's got some really cool design elements. It's got that. It reminds me a lot of the World Class Championship Wrestling heavyweight title as well. But you got that center plate with the world logo, just kind of similar to the Intercontinental title. But on the side, you have those cool plates, the ones with the TV cameras on the side, and just a little fringe going on, and stars, all that different thing. I think it reminds me too of a little bit of stuff that AEW is doing with their titles, even like what Impact's doing with their, sorry, I should say TNA Wrestling is doing with their new titles as well. But honestly, this is a pretty nice looking title. I'm debating between great and legendary for this, but when I compare it to some of the other legendary ones, I'm going to put this one in the great category, bordering on the legendary, because it is a nice looking title. And it's too bad it kind of didn't last long because it ended up getting unified with the aforementioned NWA World's Television title. Terry Taylor and Nikita Koloff had a match at Starrcade for that, and it was lost forever, but a cool title, and that'd be a nice one to add to the collection for sure. Next up, it's the AWA World Tag Team Championship. Now, I know AWA gets a little flack for their history, their title history, some of the belts that they have. And trust me, we're going to have another belt that's coming up later on. that's, that's not going to be quite the same reaction as I have for this one. Unfortunately, this picture is the actual ring used belt, so it's got a little bit of wear and tear on it. But honestly, the design is pretty neat. Again, it's got that same style of design as you see with the National Heavyweight Championship, the World Television Championship for NWA, the Hulk Hogan Championship. So that's very popular design. I forget who the belt maker was for this one. I don't know if it was Reg Parks or Dave Milliken or who it was, but Very cool design. Maybe you can leave a comment down below if you guys know who designed each of these belts. But I do enjoy this design. It reminds me of Kurt Hennig and Scott Hall holding these titles. Playboy Buddy Rose, Doug Summers, the Midnight Rockers, Bad Company. I do enjoy this design. It's simplistic as far as that center plate with the globe in the middle, similar to the WWF World Tag Team titles. But I love how the AWA logo at the top just kind of seamlessly works with the world, as well as just the overall design of it. So I enjoy this title. I'm going to put it in the great category. Not legendary, but is great, and it was something that I enjoyed seeing on AWA television back in the day. All right. Well, next up, you see it down below, but we're going into God tier here. We're going into the GOAT category because it is the world famous Winged Eagle title, which is an interesting name considering that every eagle is wings. So I don't know why we ended up calling it, but it's the WWF World Heavyweight Championship, which lasted from 1988 to 1998. Another just gorgeous title. I remember when it was first introduced. On the main event back in February of '88, and just to see it just stood out. It was something different, just a beautiful design. They just hit a home run with this one, and I don't think I'll get much disagreement on this. This one's going into the GOAT category. It's just a fantastic design. Well done. I wish they would bring this one back, to be honest. I think it's kind of a timeless look to it. Next up, another one that personally I would consider in the GOAT category almost, but I'm going to throw this one into the legendary category. It's the NWA United States title from the era. I think it's from '86 to 91 or '92. I'm trying to remember exactly the dates, but when you think about this, is a title belt that was held by Magnum TA, Lex Luger, Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, Barry Windham. I mean, just a who's who of wrestlers and just amazing wrestlers and just such a history. I mean, the fact that it was introduced to Magnum TA and then you had that famous best of seven series between him and Nikita Koloff. Just a fantastic looking belt. I love the design of it. Very similar to the Intercontinental in the center as far as the plates, and then you have the beautiful circular plates on the side with the United States style logos on there, the eagle in the center. Just this is just a masterpiece, a beautifully done belt. I'll put it into the legendary category, but you know, I almost want to put a goat status. I think when I did a list on my podcast a couple of years back, I put this one at number 3 as my overall title. So it's a beauty. Love this title. Uh, Here's the one that might get me a lot of hate on YouTube here and in the comments because this one's going to spark a lot of emotions. But it's the infamous 10 pounds of gold, the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Notice I say Worlds because that's even written on the belt itself. But the famous 10 pounds of gold. Now, I think a lot of people's love for this title goes back to, who's held it. I mean, Ric Flair, of course, held it many times. Dusty Rhodes, Kerry Von Erich, Harley Race, Jack Briscoe, Terry Funk. I mean, a who's who of wrestlers have held this title. But is the title itself a beautiful work of art? It's definitely unique. You got the dome globe, as they call it, in there for the logo. You got the side plates of the different countries with the USA in the center part. For myself growing up, I was pretty happy when they replaced this one with the big goal. I never was a huge fan of this title. Over the years, I've come to appreciate, and I think again that goes back to who used it, who had it, and who's worn it. Of course, it's now been reintroduced in later years in the NWA. We had Nick Aldis with this title. This is a tough one. I think this one's going to get me a lot of hate. Is it going in? They tried. I don't think so. The okay. I'm not putting in the legendary. I'm sorry. I'm not. I just cannot put it in the legendary because when I compare it to some of the other titles, it's not for me. I know you're going to come for my head. I'm going to put it in the great category, not the okay. It's still got that history. It's still a major title. It's still held by a who's who. But when I compare it to the look of some other titles, this wasn't my favorite overall. But still, history is counting for something here. All right, next up, another title that I love. It's the WWF World Tag Team Championship. I know you're going to say, "A Homer, you're a big WWF fan. That's why I like them." No, I just think that the WWF titles throughout the '80s were some of the best designed titles that we've ever seen. And I mean, this World Tag Team Championship is something special. You've got the eagle on top. You've got the globe in the center. Just the style of plate is just different. Just the etching along the sides is amazing. It's just a clean looking belt and a great looking belt. And of course, you throw on top of it with the argument with the 10 pounds of gold. You have, so many legendary tag teams that held this title that, this has a special place in my heart. It's going to go into the legendary category for me. I love this belt. Big fan of this belt. All right. How are we doing so far? Leave your comments. Let me know. What do you think? Do you hate me for these picks? Are you agreeing with these picks? What are your thoughts? Do you have suggestions for other belts? Because there's going to be a part two. There's going to might be a part three, part four, whatever. But this is just 20 belts. But we can come up with so many more from the '80s for the different territories. So let me know your thoughts down below. Let's get back at it. Now we're gonna we're gonna have one here that this might spark some debate too, because I know a lot of people love this belt. A lot of people hate this belt. It's a monstrosity. It's the Mid South North American Heavyweight Championship. Um, Forget the years. I think this is from '84 to '86 when UWF or where Mid South rebranded to UWF. This was held by the likes of Magnum TA, Terry Taylor, just a Mr. Wrestling 2, just, again, a who's who of wrestling. But man, this thing is something else. There's a lot going on. This is gigantic. I mean, this picture doesn't do justice. Maybe at some point I can flash up a picture of Terry Taylor with it because it's almost as big as him. I can see some influence on the titles for AEW once again for this. I mean, when I think of the women's title, I think of this influence. It's got similar designs with the circles in the corners. There's a lot going on in here. They did a good job of putting their logo on the sides, but, overall, sometimes bigger isn't always better, and sometimes it's just it's not about the size or, well, feel free to put your comments in there or whatever, but, I'm sorry for this one for me. This is going in the "they tried" category because it's just not hitting for me, I'll be honest. I know the history, the legacy, and all that stuff. There's a lot behind it, but just as far as the overall look, not the biggest fan. I don't like to see somebody be engulfed by a belt. I like it to fit to a good size for people. So, it's on the "they tried" for me. All right. Let's get back on a good note. And this one is going automatically. This one's going in the legendary category for me. It's almost a goat, almost a goat. But when I compare what I have in that goat category, it's just below. But it is the WWF Intercontinental title from the '80s to the '90s to the mid '90s. It's just before the Attitude Era. Think about guys like the Honky Tonk Man, Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage, all these superstars that held it. Mr. Perfect is another person. Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado, Bret Hart. It's synonymous with Bret Hart as well. Just absolutely beautiful design. Again, you can see the similarities in the plates as far as the U.S. title, but the way they have the globe in the center and the way they work the lettering around it, because there's a lot of letters on this. It's a long title name, the Intercontinental Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. Anyways, this one really is just, it's one I remember growing up. I remember duplicating this many times, creating it myself, using cardboard to create this title, drawing it on my scribblers at school. Just overall, just a beautiful title. And to me, it's a legendary title. Okay, next we've got the NWA World Tag Team Championship. And this would be considered the late '80s, early '90s version, held by teams like Tully and Arn and Doom and the Steiner Brothers and the Midnight Express held this title. It got reintroduced when the NWA was part of the WWF during the Attitude Era. It's just a great, solid design. It's not overwhelmingly beautiful, but it's solid. It looks good. I mean, it's just again, because it's the World Tag Team Champion, you got that globe in the center. You got the wrestlers on the side plates or on the side of the center plate. You've got the United States and the NWA logo just on the side plates. Just a clean looking title. The scrolling as far as the words looks great. I mean, just a very nice looking title. And for me, this one is again with the teams that held this title, it sticks in my mind. So I'm gonna go on this one. This is man, it's a great title. I'm not gonna put in the legendary category, comparing it to some of the other titles that are in there, but I'm considering this one a great title belt. All right, this one's interesting. It's the GCW version of the TV championship. So back when Georgia Championship Wrestling was World Championship Wrestling, and this one was held by like Jake Roberts and Ronnie Garvin and people like that. This was melded with the Jim Crockett Promotions version of the TV title to make the NWA's World TV title. And they I could say this is maybe they tried because they put a lot into it, but when I think about the time, I mean, there wasn't a lot of title belts that looked like this back at the time. They were definitely going for something here with just going different with it. There's a lot of color involved with it. When I see the just even the lettering used on it, reminds me of like those ads for like KTEL or something like that. And it's I'm gonna say I'm not gonna go into the they try category. I'm gonna say it's okay. It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. And especially for that time, it's at least it's not like a little belt buckle. So let's go with okay on this one. Next up, back to the AWA. Now I'm going to say this picture I'm going to flash up of this title is doing a lot more justice to than the actual title. This is the AWA World Heavyweight Championship that went from the 70s to about 86. Think of Nick Bockwinkel, Vern Gagne, as well as I think Otto Wan sold this title. And then, of course, Rick Martel, and most infamously, it was Stan Hansen. And the reason that they had to change this title is because when Stan Hansen left AWA and he still had the belt and it was demanded back by Vern Gagne, it before Stan mailed it off to Vern, he managed to run it over with his pickup truck and put a pretty good bend in this belt. Now, the version you're seeing is somebody that's done a remake of this belt, so it looks all shiny and very nice and plated and all that. It looks great, but this belt never really looked like this. It was pretty game used, let's put it that way. Pretty rough looking. It's called prison belt because the rumor has it was made by prisoners at a penitentiary in Colorado. Just yeah, there's a whole lot going on. I see what they did there. The when you look at it done like this, it looks very nice, but it never really had this much shine. It never had this much detail and anything like that. It's a pretty worn out looking belt. So on this one, I'm going in the tried category for this one. It's just this one never hit. But that being said, the one that followed it, that's famous for what Kurt Hennig won and what Larry Zbyszko had, Mr. Saito and those guys, a great version of that title. Jerry Lawler held it as well, great version. So they did better the next time, but this one in particular, maybe we'll thank Stan Hansen for running it over because we got a good belt after that. All right, we're getting down to our last four. I hope you guys are liking these picks. I hope you're enjoying what I'm putting up here. But let's go with one that's near and dear to my heart. But I won't let that play favoritism. I promise. It's the WWF World Heavyweight Championship, circa 1986 and 87. The famous belt that Hulk Hogan would have worn in 86 and 87. And at the time, I was a fan of it, but I don't think I appreciated it as much then as I do now because you also had the big goal that Ric Flair had over in the NWA. And this one got followed by the Winged Eagle, of course. But when you actually look up this one up close, pretty nice title belt, to be quite honest. I mean, it's a simpler design. It fit well in Hogan. It didn't look too small, didn't look too big. They're kind of going with the same idea as the NWA World Heavyweight Championship with the flags on the side. I think it's a bit more balanced because they're only on the side. You don't have a flag in the middle, so that makes a difference. You got a lot of different, etchings with like the columns and the garland or whatever you want to call it. It's got something. It looks good, and it looked good on Hogan. It's got enough color that it's unique too. So for me, this provides good memories, and I won't put it in the legendary category, but I will put it in the great. I think this is a great belt, and I think the more I look at it, and the more that I think about it, I really enjoy this title. I don't think I appreciated it at the time, but it is a good belt. So yeah. All right, let's go here. So the next one, well, we can't just have one belt in the GOAT category. That's not fair, and we can't just be only WWF centric. So We're going to talk about the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. This is what we call the big gold belt. It's most famous for Ric Flair throughout the 80s. Of course, Ronnie Garvin held it. Many different individuals. Ricky Steamboat, Rick Rude held this at one point. Of course, it traveled over to the WWF as well, and they made some alterations to it, but still the design is just so classic. This is the inspiration for Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight Championship right now. But this is it's a monster as far as the size, but it's also, along with the size, it's a thing of beauty. They did such a great job on this. Just so good, so nice a belt. Just so much going on, so much detail, so much etching, and just it looks like something that a world champion should be walking around with. And yeah, that one's going in the GOAT category as well because that's where it belongs. Great title belt. Last two. Here we go. We got the WCWA World Heavyweight Championship. This is the World Class Wrestling Association World Heavyweight Championship. Of course, World Class Championship Wrestling throughout the middle to the late 80s was in a partnership with Jerry Jarrett and USWA, and we got a name change for World Class. This is the last grasp by World Class to try to just to have something that they could call competitive, I guess is the way to go with it. But the this title belt, again, I love the design of this. It's just simplistic, clean. But I remember seeing this when I was younger and seeing this in the magazines and seeing guys like Kevin Von Erich with it. And just a beautiful belt. I love the side plates, the way it looks. There's a lot going on there. Again, you got the columns in the side of the center plate, the globe right in the middle. The scrolling looks great. Just a very clean title. Again, to me personally, I think it's close to the legendary category. I'm going to put it into the great category. I will go with that. And but yeah, again, another one that if it was on the old wall back there, I'd be more than happy to have that in the collection. All right, last but not least, well, okay, maybe least. All right, it's the World Wrestling Federation World Heavyweight Championship, circa 1982 to 84. This is a championship held by Bob Backlund after superstar Billy Graham destroyed his original WWF title, also worn by the Iron Sheik when he won the title from Bob Backlund, and finally worn by Hulk Hogan when he finally achieved world champion status and beat the Iron Sheik in January of 1984. And thus, Hulkamania WWF style was born. I know it was also started in AWA, but this is the one, the big green, and a lot of history, a lot of good wrestlers that held it. But I'm going to be honest with you, it looks kind of trash. It's not my favorite title, and it's going in the "they tried" category. Just not my thing. Whew, all right. Made it through. How'd I do? Leave your comments down below. Let me know. Did I blow it? Did I make some good picks? Do you agree with everything? Do you disagree with everything? And give me some ideas for some future tier list videos. Maybe not just for the championship titles, but maybe it's top heels of the 80s or the best baby faces of the 80s or a tier list for every territory or whatever. I don't know. Lots of ideas that can be had. But let me know what you want to see and leave your comments down below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss any future episodes. And hey, if you're a fan of title history, check out this video that YouTube suggests right now as I talk about the history of the Intercontinental Championship throughout the 1980s.